Before we move on to a next section, it was actually pointed out that I missed few things, right? So you can see over here, if we go to a smaller screen, right, you can see that the image is actually not lined up in the center, right? It's better if we were working, let's say, with 3 images over here, right? Or here, right? This is better, but with the small screen, it's actually going to be all the way to the left, right? And there's actually a very easy fix for that, right? You can see that it's all the way to the left, right? So you can see over here that we wrote already style display inline, right? So if we go back to the div that it's actually a parent to a image, and if we just write over here text center, right, we can actually line this image in the center like this, right? And there's also another way. If you don't like using this style inline, writing over here, you can just delete this one over here, and you can go back to your main CSS, find where is client's image over here, and we're just gonna write over here margin, right? And we're gonna say that margin is gonna be 0 vertical, and auto it's gonna be horizontal, right? So if we save it and go back, it's still gonna do the same thing, right? So you can see over here that it's sitting exactly in the center, right? Now I prefer doing the style inline, right? Don't ask me why. Some people obviously gonna say that this is wrong, but I just, in most cases, I just prefer doing that while I'm writing a class, right? And if I know that I'm going to be copying those images, right, then I can just get it out of the way instead of going back and setting them all with margins. But it's really up to you. And again, if you think that that's wrong, don't do it. Don't use the margin property over there. Now, the problem over here is that you can see that I have 7 of them, right? So obviously we would need to over here copy this, right? This text center through all of them so they would work also for the bigger screens, right? So let me just add over here again this style, right? I'm going to say style, and this is going to again display, and we're going to say inline over here. And if we'll save it, and now we're just going to again grab this generic class, the Bootstrap class, right over here like this. And I'm just gonna copy this one, and we're gonna go to the logos. And the bad part is we're gonna have to basically copy and paste it like 6 times, 5 times, something like this, right? Because I believe we had like 7 images, so we have to basically do it 6 times over here, right? So we just paste it over here and over here, and the last one over here, right? And again, the reason for that, they all have the style display inline, right? So obviously, if I would have right away wrote a text center over here for the first one, it would work the same because I was copying them, right? So if we save it over here and we actually start making our screen bigger, right, you can see that every time the screen is going to be changing, actually it is going to be sitting in the center, right? So this is going to be the case, right? So again, if we make it even more bigger, right, again, this is going to be the case where they're sitting in the center, right? Now, another thing that was pointed out to me that I wasn't using multiple images, right? So you can see all the time I was using over here this banana, right? So what I did, I just went to a Google and again wrote some fake images, right? So you can see over here I have fake studio, and over here you can see that instead of Levi, it's over here Elvis, right? So if we go back, and you can see over here that let's say I have a logo too, right? This is going to be the fake studio, and this is going to be this Elvis, right? So over here, I'm just going to add those images. I'm going to say this is going to be number 2, and over here, this is going to be a number 3, right? Because this is how I saved them, just so it's a little bit easier for me to remember. And if we go back over here, you can see that once I copy and insert these images, right? You can see that they're different size, and it doesn't look very pretty. Now the thing is with these logos, right, with these images, right, the best practice is actually cropping them, whether it's Photoshop or it's some other program, right? So you actually make them all the same, right? Because there is a fix for this, right? We can obviously go back over here to main CSS. You can see the images, right? We're selecting all the images over here for 200, right? And I can do the same thing with the height, right? All I have to do is, let's say, write like 100 pixels, right? So let's save this, right? And now right away, they're all in line, right? So if I just make it bigger screen, right? You'll see that it's still going to look the same, right? Because now I made them all the same, right? Now the problem is you can right away notice that this over here, this fast banana, right? It doesn't look as well because obviously we have actually extended it, right? I believe over here, if you look at this logo, right, it is 900 by 325, right? So obviously if we start adding, like, let's say that this is going to be only 100 pixels, it's not going to look as pretty, right? So again, I'm not going to be covering this course how to crop these images, right? Exactly the same. But the fix would be, if you just want to do it with main CSS, over here, you can just add a height property, right? Now, the proper way would be actually making them all the same, again, with some type of program that actually is designed for doing that, right? Because right now, if you think about it, we're just pretty much putting a lipstick on a pig, right? We just make them look better instead of actually making the images all the same, right? Because that would be a proper fix. And now that we have covered these two things, we're actually for sure ready to move on to a next section.